Yeah, your experience in this new energy and in this shift is really, it's all about what you put into it. That's what it comes down to. I mean, it's all about what you put into it. If you put in a little bit, you're gonna get out a little bit. That's what it comes down to. But different cultures and different groups had different experiences based upon their information or their knowledge. Your information and your knowledge that you have is going to determine what type of life experience you have. We all put here, and we all want abundance. We all want the quality of life or the finer things in life. However, over time, and when you study history and when you study the future as well, you'll see that our idea of the finer things in life changes, it shifts. So what's considered the finer things in life now, of course, is not what was considered the finer things in life back in the ancient Atlantean days, or back in the ancient Cometian days, or the ancient Kemetic days, or or back in the ancient Ghanaian days, or back in the Ashanti Empire. I mean, when you look at all these different cultures, you see different pictures, similar information when you start studying their mysteries, but you see different pictures. So as far as like immortality is concerned, immortality back in the day, especially in the ancient Atlantean culture, was considered like being rich. If you could figure out that pill for death, or you could figure out a way to live forever, that was that pill, that was that $1 million check back then. Now, of course, everybody wants $1 million, and to them, if you got $1 million, that's just as good as living forever. I'm sure many people out there, many of you out there watching this video, if I said, yo, what would you rather have? I'll give you either $1 million, or I'll give you the promise that you would live, maybe not forever, like literally, but you would live for thousands of years or hundreds of years. Most people out here keeping it real with themselves, they gonna take that money. I mean, because we come from the struggle, and that's what we're used to. But the concept of money and the concept of currency is what's kind of keeping us trapped on this prison planet. See, they were in some immortality. You got the immortal groups, and then eventually the immortal groups birthed the mortal groups. And that's how it went down. So you had what basically a group of people that were all considered immortal. To them, death was not, it was unheard of. And it wasn't that in this particular group, these people were immortal. They just lived for hundreds and hundreds of years. I mean, you read about this civilization when you study in the Bible, and you study the different ages that some of the prophets live. Especially in the book of Genesis, in the beginning of the Bible, you notice they live in to be like 300 and 900 years old, some of them. I mean, they live in long, long periods of time, and you wondering, like, how is this? Well, this primarily, more so than even their diet, starts up here. It starts in the mind. It starts with, first and foremost, learning how to live in the now. And when you learn how to live in the now, you kind of slow down time for yourself. Time still moves and travels, but you'll begin to kind of like experience time from your perspective, which will slow down the aging process, because you'll begin to look at weeks like days. To you, you know what I'm saying? A week is just the sun coming up 7 times. So you'll begin to count, the amount of times the sun comes up and comes down, and keep track of time like that, versus looking at a clock, or versus looking at what time it is. It may be 4 o'clock. You like, I'm going to get off at 5 o'clock. That's a level of, that's a certain mentality, and that's a certain way of thinking. However, that's very linear, and that locks you into mortality. And the mortals, what they did was that, and the difference between the mortal groups and the immortal groups is that the mortal groups, starting out, they kind of believed that it was something higher than themselves, meaning that a physical being outside of themselves that had more power than them, and they had to worship this particular being and look up to this particular being to get, energy and to get things. And the immortal groups, they believed that they were God. They believed that they pretty much worshiped themselves. They had a system of worship, and they studied about the chakras and all of these different things, the third eye and the opening of the third eye. They studied these things so that they can learn more about themselves. essentially is what it was. And in this, they began to realize that there was a science that they were immortal, that they could live forever. So the immortal groups, when you hear about the concept of immortality and the concept of living forever, this is kind of like coming from a materialist perspective, meaning that the concept of immortality and the concept of living forever is coming from a person that wants to preserve the physical shell, that wants to preserve the animal flesh. And they want to partake in an alchemical experiment or alchemical process to begin to change the flesh from human flesh to what's called like an exotic matter, or what in some ancient texts they call flesh more divine. This is a form of exotic matter that they want to transform themselves into when they get into this concept of immortalhood. And this came from ancient Egypt, but in ancient Egypt, you really didn't hear about a concept of immortalhood or a concept of living forever unless you were initiated into the higher orders, unless you were initiated into the orders of the snake. You know, if you didn't have that Uraeus coming out your head, if you didn't have that symbol, or if you weren't able to wear that fez or that particular head covering or that helmet or whatever you want to call it, if you weren't able to wear that, then you didn't know anything about living forever. So in ancient Egypt, they kind of separate. They kept the knowledge separate as far as living forever, and the knowledge that there was a cure for death at one time after we were created by, some people say, higher beings, aliens, God, whatever you want to consider it. After we were created in this experiment, we were able to live forever. Even in the Bible, it says this. It says that Adam was given immortality. He was supposed to live forever, but he ate of a certain fruit, and he still lived to be 900 even after eating from that fruit. But what they were explaining was, in that scripture, was that there was a cure for death. There was a way for you to actually live forever. And these particular beings that created us, they have no way of dying. They have no reference of dying, because death is nothing but an aging or a decay or a process of, it's a process. Like, you're dying right now. Every time you sit in the sun, you're dying right now. We're dying as a species. There was a time when we were, as a species, green. Melanated black people, niggas with broad lips and noses and all of that was considered, well, we were green at one point. We were olive tone. The most dominant color on this planet is green. Green represents life. But after a period of time, we begin to die. So even in what I'm saying now is, even in our phase now as humans, we are in the death phase as humans. The human species as a whole is in the death phase. We're at the very end. We've lost all the knowledge. That's what breaks you off for immortality and living forever. We've lost all the knowledge of ourselves. There are machines and robots, and I'm getting ready to come out with another video talking more about this, but there are neutrinoids, mixed beings that are mixed with machines and different parts that are walking around here that have no knowledge or no time reference of the ancient times. You know, there's a lot of clones and people out here. They may act like they do. Yeah, they went to college and all of that, but they just studied and learned enough about this society. They know nothing of the immortal societies, the societies where you living to be 300 and 400 years old, the societies where you got to take at least every year, you got to at least take about 3 or 4 months out of every year where you just juicing. You just living off of carrot juice and things of that nature. You're not eating any food. You know, they know nothing of those particular societies. You have to take a particular time in these societies, and this is where the Hindus got the Kama Sutra from and all of that, where you are sexually active with more than one woman all at once. You call that an orgy. But in spirituality, this was a form of a sacral energy exchange between more than two people, or even more than one person, because some people can exchange energy with themselves through a sophisticated way of masturbation. You can do that, but that's a whole nother topic. But you knew nothing of, basically, or you lost the knowledge of how to be able to preserve your energy so that you can share yourself with more than one woman, or the woman has lost the self-esteem, not really the ability, because the woman still has the ability to, have sex for hours or however long she wants to, but she's lost the mentality or the self-esteem, or I guess you could say the will to want to be able to experience, multiple men and be able to live in that type of experience. So we've lost that. That's what immortality was about, because every function that you have, it's not to sound like I'm making like I'm trying to sound nasty or talk about sex on different videos. It's not about that. I'm not making a verbal porno here. what it is that it's serious. Like your sexual energy and the energy that you have in you, your kundalini was given to you for a reason. This is your gift. This is your gift to everlasting life. If you learn how to use it, you have to have certain knowledge, you see, to learn how to use it. But we've came so far and we done fell so far that now, you know, it ain't really about living forever or anything about anything like that. It's more about having more than the next person. The whole concept of life right now is based upon competition, based upon capitalism, based upon having more than the next man or the next woman. It wasn't always like that. So, you know, a lot of people say they want to live forever and things of this nature, but it's like, what would you do? If you were given the ability to live forever, what would you do? How would you live your life? You know, you can't, if you live forever, it's no longer a impatience in your spirit. It's a certain spirit you have to have. There's no longer a rush, or there's no longer, okay, I got to hurry up and do this because of these time clocks and this and that and that. You will learn how to flow and live in a Tao to where time doesn't exist to you. You just do you. And you living forever, and you'll learn how to slow down time. But see, we've lost the knowledge of that. We've lost all this information. You know, our thoughts are scattered, our ideas are scattered, and the concept now of living forever is just not real. So ask yourself that. What if I'm gonna close the video saying this. What if Adam didn't eat the forbidden fruit? Let's just say that story is real. What if you still had the ability to live forever? Everything starts up here, beloved. You still have that ability, but you have to see yourself living that life. You want to be rich, but you got to see yourself living that life. So immortality is real, it's achievable, but the question is, can you see it up here first? Can you visualize it?